Hi, welcome to Story Inshort. Enjoy and watch out for spoilers. Today I am going to tell an anthology of stories set in different timelines in history that explores female strength as the protagonists tackle the crises brought on by their male counterparts. It's a 2021 released drama Malayalam film called Anam Penam. The movie starts in late 1990s, where with a lady named Savitri runs away from police who's trying to catch her. From long distance she sees her house on fire, but she keeps on running and escapes. Next morning, she takes a bath from a river and starts to move. She reaches the next village feeling tired, and keeps a low profile. But police notice her and follows her. She once again escapes and hides inside a building. There the house owner lady sees her and mistaken Savitri as the maid sent by her relative. She asked her name and Savitri told her name as Kochu Paru. Later she started working as maid and gets familiar with works and also meets up with another maid named Kachapi. After 2 days, the house owner, Raghava Pillai, comes back from his journey and sees the new maid Kochu Paru. From the moment he saw her, he started having a sexual desire for her and he started harassing her every moment he gets. Meanwhile his wife noticed this but doesn't mention anything. After a couple of days, their elder son, Vasudevan, comes from Madras after completing his law degree. He reaches the house in evening. He told his mom that he wants to take a bath. As it getting darker, she asked Kochu Paru to light his way, and warned him about communist people, who are attacking their family. After reaching the pond she lights up the lamps, and Vasudevan started taking bath. Savitri started thinking about the night she escaped. That night, police couldn't find her. So they beaten up her family and burned the house, as she was communist member. Meanwhile she hears a person's noise from the woods and she started looking who it is and finds Madhavan, another communist member. He told her family is safe in his house. But Savitri asked him how he knows her place. Madhavan told Kachapi is also a member and he told. Madhavan gives her a letter and told her to hand it over to Kachapi. Next morning, she hands over this letter to Kachapi and goes to storeroom. That time Raghava Pillai tries to take advantage on her. She asked him to leave her but he never listens. Suddenly his brother calls him from below and told him his police friends came, so he goes. In the house Raghavan and his friend started to have liquor. His friend started telling story about the way he tortured a communist member which they caught. Then his friend notices some changes in Kachapi's face. He asked for a matchbox from Kachapi and saw the letter falling out of his pocket. He suddenly put in his mouth and eats the letter. Police and Raghavan beats Kachapi and they take him to police station. At night Madhavan comes and asks Savitri to move as it is danger to stay in that place. Meanwhile Vasu saw her with Madhavan, and while she came back he asked who that was. She kisses Vasu and get intimate with him. Next day, while Kathakali was happening, Raghavan asked her to come to the riverside. In riverside Raghavan gets beaten up by Madhavan who dressed as Savitri. Savitri packs her bag and started leaving. That time Vasu stopped her from leaving. She points the gun at Vasu and reveals her real name as Savitri. Vasu gets frightened and Savitri leaves in the boat with Madhavan. There ends the first chapter. Second story starts with Kutakrishnan coming to his former employer Augustine's house after hearing about him passing away. He meets with his wife and shared his memories about him. Meanwhile he saw Rachiyama through the window, who came to see Augustine's wife. Then he started thinking about his past. The story is happening in the hills of Munnar tea plantation. He gets a job in plantation and he rented a house nearby. Rachiyama is the milkmaid of that village. So after hearing about him moving in, she came to ask whether he needs milk. Kutakrishnan asks her for 1 bottle of milk every day. So she instructs him to send his helper to her house to collect milk. At night he writes a letter to his mother and goes for sleep. Morning his helper comes empty-handed as he couldn't find Rachiyama's house. While he was about to leave Rachiyama came with the milk and mentioned his helper as a fool. And told him to come collect from tomorrow or else he won't be having any milk. In plantation he gets introduced to his new job. One day, he receives a letter from his mother, inquiring about his health and a recipe for a dish. He goes to market to buy the ingredients. Meanwhile he meets his colleague and saw Rachiyama coming to the market. That time his colleague mentions a comment about her. This make him angry and the both gets into a fight. Seeing this, Rachiyama comes and stops the fight. She asked him why he beat him. Kudakrishnan mentioned, as he told an unwanted comment about Rachiyama. This make her impressed about him. One fine day, Kudakrishnan goes to a place in the forest and fallen asleep in a rock. When he woke up, sun was about to set. He quickly started walking towards the house, but on the way he saw an elephant. Getting frightened, he started to scream. Rachiyama out of nowhere comes and cover his mouth, and she also helped him to get of that place. Days passed and Kudakrishnan fallen ill due to chickenpox. As it's a viral disease, he asked his helper to go home. Rachiyama comes to his house as no one came to collect the milk on that day. She saw Kudakrishnan, and he asked her to leave as it can spread, but she started treating him with Ayurvedic treatments. For following days also, she continues the treatment. In that time, they both started bonding up and comes to know more about each other. After he gets cured, Kudakrishnan goes to see sunset. Meanwhile, Rachiyama also visit that place. Kudakrishnan mentioned his love for her. Rachiyama told that if they are get into a relationship then he should marry her. As she has promised her mother on her deathbed, that she won't fell in for cheating. Kudakrishnan doubting about his family's reaction towards this marriage, he leaves. After few days, he quits his job in plantation and moves out of Munnar. Meanwhile, without knowing about this, Rachiyama comes to see him and saw his house locked. In present day, Kudakrishnan goes to see Rachiyama and knows from her that she is still unmarried. Meanwhile, Rachiyama knows about him, that he is married and have a daughter who is studying in first grade. She reveals her love for him and that's the reason why she didn't get married. He told her about the past situation why he couldn't marry her and cries. This chapter ends as he once again leaves her with his helplessness and Rachiyama looking at him leaving. The third is the story of a girl named Rani. The story starts as Thug Sabu and a person whose name is not mentioned in the story, so we call him as An. Sabu was fantasizing about having sex in a hill and An was listening. Sabu told An that he knows a place far away and if he wants he can show him the place. An gets a doubt about that place being safe, but Sabu convinces him that it's 100% safe. Then we see that all this conversation happened in front of the church. Later that day in college, An meets his girlfriend Rani. In the beginning, it seems the stereotypical story of man wanting to be more physical. But as it proceeds, you observe how he is easily the weaker one of the two. He is afraid to express his feelings in public while she asks him why not hug and kiss her wherever they are. He insists on going to a secluded place. His reasons were people will see, family will know, and you know how the people in our place are like. She had a clear idea of what his intentions were and still gets confused by his sweet flattery that instantly weakens her. Next day morning, he comes with a bike and picks up Rani and they head to the hill which Sabu told him. After they reach there, he persuades her to get inside a bush and get intimate. Meanwhile, an elderly person named Vasudevan saw everything without they noticing and later told his wife, detail by detail. For which they both laughs. Meanwhile, Rani and An whom were lying down naked heads to the bike to get their cloths and mobile phone. Rather they saw all of their belongings stolen. In Vasudevan's house Joe's, a stolen goods purchasing person arrives and purchase all the stolen phones. Vasudevan counts the cash and give it to his wife. Wife asked him, why didn't he at least leave their cloths? For that Vasudevan reply was a smile. Meanwhile sun was about to set and An was still crying. Rani asked him to keep on crying and like in the other two segments it is the woman that walks away. Subscribe to watch more videos like this, turn on notification and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.